this morning. We're going to talk a little bit about fun topic, nursing home planning.
How do I keep the nursing home from taking my house?
Well, they can't do that.
Okay, good. That's a very common question we've been receiving nowadays. So what we're talking about is when an individual or multiple individuals, husband and wife, apply for Medicaid. So that's different than Medicare. I think of Medicare as once you reach 64, you're eligible for Medicare. Medicaid is whenever you need the state to come in and pay for your care. Essentially, going to a nursing home is what the most common scenario there. So when you apply for Medicaid, you fill out an application and send it to the state of Illinois, and then they determine your eligibility, right?
Right.
Okay.
And Medicaid would typically pay for someone's care in a nursing home or long-term care facility if they were otherwise destitute, basically.
And how do you prove that?
There's certain exemptions, so there's a part of the application that talks about that. You know, when you apply for Medicaid, for whatever reason, you know, this application is pretty hefty, and they ask you a lot of questions. They ask you what assets you own. You know, you have to provide proof of that, bank statements, account statements. You own real estate, you know, you have to justify what you own, what the value of that is, etc. And, you know, if you don't qualify, there's a certain amount of assets above the exempt assets that you own. You have to spend those down for your own care. And at that point, once you've spent everything down, it's called the spend down period, then you would be eligible for Medicaid coverage. But, you know, we don't want to do that. So there's planning that you can do to try to avoid some of that to a certain extent.
Some people say, well, I'm just going to give everything to my kids, and I don't own any assets. When I submit that Medicaid application in my name, there's nothing that's owned. Well, Medicaid also has what's considered a look-back period, and that look-back period within the last 10 years, it changed from 3 years to 5 years. So now we're at a 60-month look-back period. So if I give away my property to somebody and then go to apply for Medicaid within the next 60 months, they're going to want to know what that asset was worth, what the fair market value was, and what value you received from it, if anything. And something that comes up a lot is, well, I'm going to deed my house out to my kids, and I guess why would that be a bad idea?
Could be risky. So you've got the look back period. So let's say the home is worth $150,000. If you then need to turn around within the next 5 years and apply for Medicaid, you're ineligible in the amount of the value of the gift that you've made. So you made a gift in that case of $150,000. But the great state of Illinois kind of double dips on you when you're ineligible, in that they consider the ineligibility based on the average cost of care, which they determine, and which is typically less than the actual cost of care. So if you've given a gift of $150,000, they say the average cost of care is $3,000. You have 50 months. Is that good math?
Yeah, 50 I think that's pretty close.
That you would have to pay for your own care before you would be eligible for Medicaid. So,
but your 50 months actually is going to be closer to $5,000. So you're looking at
or 6 or 7.
Correct.
Right.
So you're paying the difference out of pocket, and the state's calculating your ineligibility period on a lower amount, which basically extends that ineligibility period.
Right.
But the state can't take your house, right? Even if you own it and it's in your name and you apply for Medicaid, that asset is exempt.
It's exempt as long as there is what they call an intent to return home. So if you intend to return home, and probably I would think 99 out of 100 people that you ask in the nursing home, do you want to go home? The answer is yes.
Okay.
So the intent to return home is a pretty easy hurdle. But as long as there is an intent to return home, that is an exempt asset for purposes of qualification. So that's not to say that the state of Illinois could not come back later after the person dies that has received Medicaid payments and file a claim against the estate of that individual to try to get paid.
And I think that something that some people don't realize, the general public doesn't. I mean, I didn't realize it until I started practicing. But the state of Illinois, and I think the federal government, keeps a tally on what benefits they pay out for specific individuals. That's why you have to put down your social security number when you apply for these things. And so at the end of great grandma's life, the state of Illinois is going to have a tally of what they paid for her care through Medicaid or other types of government subsidies. So at the end, when great grandma dies, the state of Illinois then scours the newspapers for obituaries and figures out if there's an estate that's going to be open, and they ultimately file a lien on the estate for that amount.
Right.
So that does come up in practice a lot. Sometimes people say, well, I'm going to do not a full transfer of the title of the real estate, but I'm only going to, I'm going to do a transfer on death instrument, so that property transfers automatically to these named beneficiaries at the end of your life. Well, same thing there. The state could still come in and try to file a lien on that. Whether or not it would be a valid lien, I think it's arguable. Some people deed their property to their children and retain a life estate for themselves. And when you apply for Medicaid, if you think, well, I deeded that property out to my kids, I don't own it. Well, yes, you do. You own a life estate, and the state of Illinois says that depending on your life expectancy, whatever the fair market value of that property is, you own a percentage of it. So
there's a value to it. There's a value to the life estate, which we have found is a lot higher than you would expect on the tables for Medicaid, at least.
Yeah, I think it's still in the 20% or mid 20% whenever somebody's in their 80s. So, I mean, they still consider that to be, if you have a $200,000 house, you're looking at having a $50,000 asset there if you own a life estate in it, in that hypothetical. So,
well, I would think the rest of that you don't have that ownership interest in would be a gift that would be subject to the look back periods, and you'd be at risk there. But those exempt assets are different if you are dealing with married couples, because you may have one couple that's in the nursing home and you may have one that's still living at home, and the person that's still living at home has higher thresholds for assets that they can keep and still maintain qualification for the nursing home spouse for Medicaid. Those aren't extremely high, but it's around $120,000 of assets, plus a house, plus a car, plus prepaid funeral, plus clothes,
all your personal property, right? Basically what you need to live day to day.
But that's more of planning when you have some more certainty as to who's going to be in the nursing home and who's maybe not. I mean,
so the best advice now for somebody that's thinking about, well, I don't want the state of Illinois to keep a tally on me, and I don't want my loved ones to have to pay the bill. Something we've discussed is there are long-term care insurance policies out there. The premiums are extremely high. The younger you are when you get in it, the cheaper the premiums are. I mean, if you're in your 50s or 60s and you're going to look at a long-term care insurance plan, premiums are probably going to be pretty astronomical. But look at your financial situation. If it's worth it, then, I mean, absolutely you do that.
Yeah, I think those can be worthwhile. I mean, I've seen them work pretty well where the long-term care insurance pays for the care and, it protects the rest of the assets. So that's definitely a good planning tool. Some of it depends on your stage in life. I mean, if you're a 85-year-old person and you're looking at long-term care insurance, I hope you got some cash.
Yeah, it's probably premiums are probably about the same as what the private pay out of pocket would be.
It's going to be a lot, but some people get those types of benefits through their work. They could take advantage of them then. It's like anything else. Everybody's situation is different, and everybody needs to look at planning way in advance. This isn't typically a last minute type deal to get the best results. There are things that can be done in crisis mode, but it's always better to be thinking about it when you're young and healthy and can actually do things. I would feel much better about the fact on rolling the dice that I'm hopefully not going to be in the nursing home in the next 5 years at my age. I don't know that. I mean, I could go get hit by the proverbial bus today, but I feel better about it now than I would probably in 25 or 30 years from now. So I don't know. That's pre-planning. Always good.
Yep. Always look at your state planning needs and review it from time to time, because things change. Things change quickly too. That's something that we've experienced here over the last couple of years. I mean, one day things are going in this direction, and the next day you've got to make a complete 180. So
yeah, next day you have 2 weeks to flatten the curve, and 2 years later, here we are.
Still here, huh?
It's crazy. It's a crazy world we live in.
Yeah, hopefully normalcy continues, at least in the college and professional sports world. I haven't seen really any big restrictions around here.
You have to show a vaccine card or a negative COVID test to go to a University of Illinois basketball game, and suggest getting there early because it takes a while to get through all the hoops to get in the door. And then if you want to get some popcorn, you got to wait about another 30 or 40 minutes to make that happen.
You think those 18, 19, and 20-year-olds that get fake IDs at college also know how to get a fake COVID vaccine card?
Well, that would be dishonest.
Yeah. I cannot believe. Oh, well, Illinois looked okay last night in the second half. Kind of had a rough start.
Not all wins are pretty. Just got to keep winning. How's Sparty doing?
Good. They're, I think, still top 10, and they actually come to Champaign on
Monday.
January 25th.
Next month.
It's a Tuesday, yeah. January 25th, 6 o'clock.
We'll look forward to that one. Thanks for joining us today. We'll see you next time.
Thanks.